From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Spilling the beans. See what took one North Dakota farmer months to create. Reaping the benefits from the ground up.
Mother Nature doesn't have anything in a singular form growing by itself in nature.
As we help you flip your soil, and the Gulf Coast faces another hurricane.
We're going to stay here. We've always been here, and we're not going to leave.
And it couldn't have hit at a worse time. Right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. More farmers choose Pioneer brand corn because it delivers game-changing yields. Join a winning team. Pioneer brand corn. Your best year starts here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Happening right now, farmers and ranchers along the Gulf Coast are getting their first look at the damage caused by Hurricane Francine. The storm making landfall yesterday evening along Louisiana's coast. Ivan Rodriguez beginning our team coverage in Morgan City, Louisiana, as the powerful storm moved in.
We're trying to prepare for it, but I don't think this one's going to be quite as bad for Lafayette.
Preparation and cautious optimism is how many living in the path of Hurricane Francine are facing the next several hours.
We're going to stay here. We've always been here, and we're not going to leave.
I got all the vehicles gassed up. We got some extra water. We got the propane bottles filled.
The Category 1 storm may not be considered a major hurricane, but forecasters say it will pack a powerful punch, threatening several areas along Louisiana's coastline with storm surge levels up to 10 feet.
The time to evacuate has now passed.
Various mandatory and voluntary evacuation orders had been in place since Tuesday, notably around the greater New Orleans area, which is outside of the levee protection system.
We are now no longer in the prepare for a hurricane. We are now in the respond for a hurricane.
In St. Mary's Parish, they closed massive floodgates to hold back potentially destructive storm surge from washing over homes and businesses downriver. Sandbag stations were also busy over the past 24 hours. These local high school students volunteering to help their neighbors.
The community's strong around here, all together, we're strong together.
A strong community that must now hunker down and ride Francine out.
Now is the time that we're going to stay off of the roadways, stay home, and stay put.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting for AgDay.
Rain was already falling yesterday in portions of Louisiana as Hurricane Francine moved closer to the coast. And the arrival couldn't come at a worse time for farmers in the state. As This Week in Louisiana Agriculture's Avery Davidson explains.
Hey Clinton, Avery Davidson here with the Louisiana Farm Bureau. I'm at my home outside of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where Hurricane Francine would pretty much pass right over my house if it goes over the current track. Now you notice that I have a lot of trees around here. That is one concern for Louisiana agriculture, is the timber industry. There are a lot of pine trees where this is projected to go after it comes inland, so those could be damaged by this storm. Of course, this is coming in as a Category 1, or expected to come in as a Category 1. Hurricane Ida back in 21 came in as a Category 4. Big difference in wind damage whenever you look at those two kinds of storms. Now, where it's coming in, St. Mary Parish, Terrebonne Parish, those areas produce a lot of sugarcane. That is the crop that is probably going to be most impacted by this storm. The winds and the rain can lead to cane being lodged, blown down. The upside is once harvest begins next week, the harvesters should be able to pull that up and they should be able to salvage it and just see a loss in yield, not necessarily a loss in crop. Now, soybeans, that's another issue. We had a lot of our farmers going late into the night yesterday, trying to beat the rains to get the soybeans out that were ready. There are still some that are not ready. We'll see if that 5 to 7 to 10 inches of rain has any impact on that crop. So we're as prepared as we can be, and we just ask that other farmers and ranchers across the country say a few prayers for their brethren down here in Louisiana.
Our thanks to Avery Davidson of This Week in Louisiana Agriculture for that update. And ahead of the storm, many farmers in the South ramped up harvest. The Mississippi Farm Bureau reporting that farmers were working all day and night to bring in their crops, sharing this view of the sunrise over the last few acres of corn left to be harvested at Triple Run Farms in the Mississippi Delta. The same was the case for Patrick Swindoll of Banks, Mississippi, who hurried to complete rice harvest ahead of Francine. Arkansas Cooperative Extension Service also watching this storm with great concern, saying rice there is ready to harvest and cotton bolls are open, adding it's set to hit state crops at the worst possible time. Now in the West, tens of thousands of people are under wildfire evacuation orders. Officials say the U.S. now has more than 70 large active fires, and some are growing rapidly. In Orange County, California, there's the airport fire. The nearby line fire is burning in San Bernardino County, and the bridge fire is burning fewer than 30 miles away from Los Angeles. While in Nevada, at least 2 animal evacuation centers say they're full due to the Davis fire. Other states, including Arizona, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming, are also battling fires right now. NOAA says this past summer was the 4th hottest U.S. summer on record, just behind 1936, 2021, and 2022. Now it says the average temperature across the U.S. this summer was 73.8 degrees, 2.5 degrees above average, with Arizona, California, Florida, Maine, and New Hampshire all experiencing their warmest summer on record. However, despite that, meteorologists say the Midwest resided in a protective bubble of jet stream troughing. Meanwhile, a separate weather system is also impacting the nation. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht joins us with an update.
Yeah, the big discussion is what's going on regarding the tropics. Francine, the remnant moisture from this system working to the north. Now, based on what happened yesterday, we're looking at that path, a trajectory to be a little bit more to the northeast, up into parts of Tennessee and Kentucky as we go through our Thursday and Friday. As we've mentioned before, you can actually see it on this map. This little circle or half circle right there, that is going to suppress a lot of the moisture from working quickly to the north. It's also a location of some very dry air. So you see a very sharp cutoff between the edge of the cloud cover and that tropical moisture and the clear skies and that dry air. The main circulation is going to wander right over this area for a number of hours and days and slowly work back to the east. Again, typical with a pattern that does not have a lot of steering winds to move this system around. And we're getting in more harvest pictures. Travis is sending this one in from Kansas, telling us dryland corn harvest is a go. He says he has a long road ahead, but you gotta start somewhere. So true. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Now, 3 of the nation's beef packers have agreed to settle an alleged wage-fixing lawsuit. Reuters reporting Cargill, National Beef Packing, and Hormel Foods have agreed to pay a combined $57.4 million. A proposed class action suit had accused them of suppressing workers' pay at processing plants. Now, the settlements cover claims from tens of thousands of workers at 140 plants. They alleged a years-long conspiracy among leading processors to keep wages low. The settling companies have denied any wrongdoing.
Flip Your Soil on AgDay is brought to you by ESN. Hear why farmers across the country trust ESN to protect their nitrogen investment and maximize yield. Learn more at smartnitrogen.com.
Farmers that flip their soil into something healthier reap the benefits through higher productivity and profitability for the future. As AgDay's Michelle Roach shows us, it takes a multi-pronged approach to soil health.
Organic matter in this soil is very easy to deplete, but very hard to build. However, by following the principles of soil health, farmers can pull carbon out of the air and sequester it in the ground to make it healthier. Now, it requires a systems approach to regenerate the land, something they've been doing at Jorgensen Land and Cattle for decades. The Jorgensens began their soil health journey in 1991, eliminating tillage to save moisture, time, and resources in their 12,000-acre operation. And it's the first of 5 soil health principles.
Number 1 is we don't disturb the soil, okay? No till. It's really, really hard to have a very healthy dynamic soil system if you're going to be including tillage in that program. It's just, it breaks down the textures. It impedes on the biological effects of the soil, so don't till.
That goes hand in hand with making sure there's cover or armor on the soil at all times.
We want to leave some residues on that soil surface, just like the skin on our bodies. It's there to protect our bones. So without that residue there, the soil becomes very, very it's very delicate, so it's going to be harmed by wind, by rain.
He says diversity is also important, and Jorgensen's have a 6-year crop rotation.
Mother Nature doesn't have anything in a singular form growing by itself in nature. So we want to have a diverse rotation and or adding cover crops to that thing all the time.
Cover crops help provide a living root in the soil for as long as possible.
In our native prairie system, we have a living root 365 days a year, all the time. When you have a living root, you have a place to maintain and host biological activity.
And last but not least, he says, find a way to integrate livestock.
It's absolutely the most important part, because that's the system that cycles all the residues and then puts back in the nutrient form and in biological form the waste. And I think that's the key factor.
The result is their soil is alive and teeming with microorganisms, has little to no erosion, increased water infiltration, and holding capacity, which all builds organic matter over time.
We've been doing this for a long time, and we average a little over 4.5%. In this part of the world, that's pretty good.
And that makes their soil more resilient to all the extremes Mother Nature throws at them today and in the future. I'm Michelle reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Well, markets were fighting to stay positive at midweek. We'll talk about that coming up next. And later, we're off to North Dakota, where this soybean field has been hiding a secret all season long. It was finally revealed. We'll tell you what it's at in the country. And be sure to join us tomorrow for the AgDay College Roadshow. We're headed to Indiana's own Purdue University ahead of their matchup with in-state rival Notre Dame. We'll look at some of their cutting-edge research and talk with faculty and staff about today's markets and economic opportunities. Join us tomorrow morning for the AgDay College Roadshow. Corn and soybeans fought to hang on to gains midweek ahead of today's supply and demand report from USDA. Michelle Rook is back with more on what traders will be watching for today in Markets Now.
Joining us with Markets is Sean Hackett. And as we go into the big USDA reports here today, Sean, let's talk a little bit about kind of what's programmed into the corn market already, because if we come in with a flat yield of 183 or below, is that bullish, or do you need a 2 billion bushel ending stocks number or below that to get the market excited?
I'm of the opinion they're not going to mess around with yields too much. I know a lot of private estimates think they are or not or whatever, but I don't think they're going to mess around with that. But I do think that we could see carryouts, at least on corn, fall further, even if the yields remain the same, because harvested acres I still feel need to come down. Demand needs to go up further, and I still think old crop stocks need to come down more. I'd be looking at the ending stocks number, not the yield number on corn, for signs of whether the market is at the right level or not. My suspicion is we're going to fall below 2 billion bushel carryout by the October report, and I don't think 405 or 403 December corn is correctly priced. I think the price would need to be higher, given what I believe is going to be the correct ending stocks profile.
Even if you got higher yield, Sean, is it possible you could get harvested acres to go down and still be flat on ending stocks like we saw in the August report?
Absolutely. I fully believe it. Even if they were to move the yields higher, let's say a bushel to the acre, I believe.
Even if you got higher yield, Sean, is it possible you could get harvested acres to go down and still be flat on ending stocks like we saw in the August report?
Absolutely. I fully believe it. Even if they were to move the yields higher, let's say a bushel to the acre, I believe if they mess around with these other numbers the way that I believe they're going to, like they did before, I still don't think the ending stocks is going to go any higher. Meaning I think we've traded the largest U.S. corn ending stocks that we're going to trade for this crop cycle.
For soybeans, certainly there's expectations we're going to see higher yield than ending stocks in the report today. What's already programmed in there?
When we were trading down at 955, I certainly think we were trading closer to 54 and change, 55 yield and a 600, well above 600 million bushel carryout, which is a 30-year high in stocks to usage. I just don't think the USDA is going to come in with a number much larger than what we already have. I'm not expecting to reduce it much like I am on corn. I don't think they're going to do that either. I don't see the basis for that.
All right, thanks so much. Sean Hackett with Hackett Financial Advisors. We'll have more AgDay coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
So I want to take a look at what's going on with the jet stream. One thing we alluded to the last couple of days in regards to Francine, the remnant circulation, it's all about the steering winds. And we find those steering winds up in the jet stream, where that flow is strongest. Tends to pick up some of these circulations and move them through. As I mentioned a little bit ago, you see the steering winds, if anything is going to move, it's going to be up in and around this trough. Where Francine circulation is located, it's actually butting up against a ridge of high pressure. And if you notice at the surface, winds across the Midwest, but also into the plains, have been relatively weak. It's not until you start getting closer to this trough, this half circle, that winds at the surface start to pick up. So what that is telling us is that this circulation with the cloud cover and moisture associated with it isn't going to move all that much over a long period of time. You can kind of follow it wobbling up here to the north. And as I pointed out earlier, this is going to suppress a lot of that energy and moisture down here to the south. So torrential downpours, parts of Memphis, Tennessee, but also into Mississippi, southern Illinois, and southern Indiana. This is on Friday. I'll hit the button again, and you can see as we go into Saturday and Sunday, kind of disappears, but you don't see that circle work up to the north, work up to the west, rather kind of scoots off the coast over here towards the east. Something worth watching off the east coast next Monday and Tuesday is a possibility of that circulation reigniting possibly a tropical system off the coast of North and South Carolina. So again, this is a long ways away, but kind of just following the story of that circulation isn't going to go to the north or exit to the northeast. It's going to meander within the jet stream back down here towards the east coast because of the pattern that we have set up the last couple of days. Dominant ridge, big trough that's going up and over the ridge, not through it. So again, there's the jet stream all the way through your Sunday. Carvers, North Carolina, cloudy, high around 84 degrees, low of 69. Hugo, Oklahoma, partly cloudy, high of 88, low of 61. And Bristol, Wisconsin, sunny, high of 84, low of 62 degrees.
Wyoming is confirming its first case of anthrax in cattle in the state since the 1970s. The Wyoming Livestock Board saying the disease was found in multiple beef herds in Carbon County. The group adding it will continue to work with producers and veterinarians to reduce further spread as well as limit human exposure using recommendations for carcass disposal and vaccination. Anthrax is a spore-forming bacteria that can survive in soil for years to decades. Officials say incidents can happen after periods of drought followed by heavy rain. Animals can become infected when they breathe or ingest the spores. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association is getting behind a piece of legislation that would reform the Endangered Species Act. Republican Representative Dan Newhouse of Washington and fellow Republican Representative Bruce Westerman of Arkansas introducing the bill. Now, under the plan, supporters say the ESA would provide more timely conservation efforts on America's rangeland. NCBA says the bill would make the ESA a real tool for conservation, foster transparency and accountability, as well as ensure the environmental contributions from farmers and ranchers are properly recognized. The Public Lands Council joining with NCBA to support the bill. Harvest can be a memorable time for many farmers. Well, up next, how a North Dakota producer created his own magic and a few memories in the country. Harvest time can create a whole lot of memories. Here's one that a North Dakota couple won't soon forget. Farmer Justin Lehman of southeastern North Dakota taking to the skies using a carefully harvested soybean field to pop the question. Justin started planning this proposal in May when he was planting the soybeans on his farm near Havana, using technology and precision planting to create the words "Marry Me" in his field. Then he had a pilot friend take him and his girlfriend, Haley Schmidt, on an aerial crop tour recently. After seeing that, who could say no? And the best part is, his now fiance had no idea it was coming.
People that know me know that I'm pretty gullible, so I was like, yeah, let's just go look at some crops and go on a flight. I don't know. I didn't really think anything of it.
They plan on getting married next year in between planting and harvesting seasons. Congratulations to them both. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day out in farm country.